Assistant editor, thank you. Assistant editor of the Krishna Kadamrita Bindu, which is a bi-weekly that comes in every Ekadasi. We can all subscribe to it also. I know some devotees eagerly read it every 2 weeks. Yeah, so that's a wonderful literature, and that also comes with some fresh translation. In most of the editions I've seen, fresh translation from Prabhu. So he's a wonderful, he has many contributions like this, and he's also translating, I heard, Harishwari Prabhu's commentary from the 10th canto. So wherever he goes, he shares some nectar from there also. It's very beautiful to hear from Prabhu. He is also very good at poetry, so always devotional poetry. So it's wonderful. We're very grateful for you for coming here, Prabhu. Thank you so much, Prabhu. Yeah, let us all make use of his association. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Sundaran Prabhu, for kindly introducing me. But Prabhuji, that introduction was incomplete. You didn't mention that I'm your friend. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you very much, dear devotees, for kindly being here. Panchabhihi sah sthatavyam gantavyam panchabhihi sah. Panchabhihi sah vaktavyam na dukkham panchabhihi sah. Panchabhihi sah sthatavyam. If you ever stay at one place, stay with at least 5 people. If you have a quarrel with one person, there are 4 other people you can speak to. Gantavyam panchabhihi sah. If you are traveling somewhere, travel with at least 5 people. If you fall into a difficult situation, there are 5 people to rescue you. Panchabhihi sah vaktavyam. If you are speaking something, there should be at least how many people? 5 people. But there are more than 5 people, much more than 5 people. So, na dukkham panchabhihi sah. It's all happiness if at least 5 are present, but so many, much more than 5 are present, so it's all happiness. You, dear audience, are the main reason for the success of the program. Thank you for kindly being present here today. Our Shishta Parampara, our tradition established by the Acharyas is to begin with Mangalacharan. So I'll begin with Jai Radha Madhav, Mangalacharan. Today we have to discuss Srimad Bhagvatam 9th canto, 11th chapter, 1st verse. So I'll begin with Jai Radha Madhav. Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Jai Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivardhari Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yashodanandana Braja Jana Ranjana Yamunatira Vanachari Yamunatira Vanachari Jai Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari जय राधा माधव कुंज बिहारी जय राधा माधव राधे जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय गौरनिताय जय जगन्नाथ जय जगन्नाथ जय बलदेव जय सुभद्रा जय जय प्रभुपाद 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 जय जय प्रभुपाद जय जय गुरुदेव 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 जय जय गुरुदेव श्रील प्रभुपाद की अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की The devotees will sing Mangalacharan prayers together quickly. Om Jnanatimirandhasya Jnananjana Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Soyam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yutapadakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha Namo Vishnupadaya Krishna Presthaya Bhutale Shrimate Bhakti Vedanta Swamin Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Namo Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namne Gauratvishe Namah He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripasindhubhya eva cha Patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So once again I am very thankful Sundaran Prabhu for kindly introducing me. I am very grateful also to Jigar Prabhu, Vishnu Priya Mataji and Jay Dev for kindly hosting myself and my family at their place. They are kindly tolerating us for a few days. So I am very thankful to all three of them. Thank you Vidur Prabhu for kindly welcoming me. And thank you all dear devotees for kindly being present here today. So today's verse is Srimad Bhagvatam, 9th canto, 11th chapter, first verse. So those of you who have the verse in front of you, kindly sing after me. Shri Shuka Uvacha Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Rama Uttama Kalpakaihi Sarvadeva Mayam Devam Ijethaacharyavanmakhai. Synonyms. Shri Shukah Uvacha. Shri Shukadev Goswami said, Bhagavan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Atmana, by himself, Atmanam, himself, Ramaha, Lord Ramachandra, Uttama Kalpakaihi, with very opulent paraphernalia, Sarvadeva Mayam, the heart and soul of all the demigods, Devam, the Supreme Lord himself, Ej, worshipped, Atha, thus, Acharyavan, under the guidance of an Acharya, Makhaihi, by performing sacrifices. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace Abhay Charnaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, Jagadguru Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Translation. Shukadev Goswami said, thereafter, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Lord Ramachandra, accepted an Acharya and performed sacrifices, yajna, with opulent paraphernalia. Thus he himself worshipped himself, for he is the Supreme Lord of all the demigods. Purport. Sarvarhanam Achyutejya. If Achyuta, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, is worshipped, then everyone is worshipped. As stated in Srimad Bhagvatam, 4th canto, chapter 31, verse 14. Yatha tarur mula nishechanena tripyanti tat skandha bhujopashakha pranopahara cha yathendriyanam tathaiva sarvarhanamachyutejya. As pouring water on the root of a tree nourishes the trunk, branches, twigs and leaves, and as supplying food to the stomach enlivens the senses and limbs of the body, worshipping the Supreme Personality of Godhead satisfies the demigods who are part of that Supreme Personality. Performing yajna involves worshipping the Supreme Lord. Here the Supreme Lord worshipped the Supreme Lord. Therefore it is said, Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Ije. The Lord worshipped himself by himself. This does not, of course, justify the Mayavad philosophy by which one thinks himself the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The Jiva, the living entity, is always different from the Supreme Lord. Jai. Shri Radha Madhava ki jai. The Jiva, the living entity, is always different from the Supreme Lord. The living entities, Vibhinnamsha, never become one with the Lord. Although Mayavadis sometimes imitate the Lord's worship of himself. Lord Krishna meditated upon himself every morning as a grihastha, and similarly Lord Ramachandra performed yajnas to satisfy himself. But this does not mean that an ordinary living being should imitate the Lord by accepting the process of ahangraha upasana. Such unauthorized worship is not recommended herein. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So we'll recite the verse once more. Shri Shuka Uvacha Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Rama Uttama Kalpakai Sarvadeva Mayam Devam Ijethaacharyavanmakhai. So this 11th chapter is called Sri Ramachandra Charitam. The character of Sri Ram is described in this 11th chapter. Now we have heard Srila Prabhupada's purport. After hearing Srila Prabhupada's purport, uh, we can also hear the purports of some of the previous acharyas. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to say that amongst all the previous acharyas, his favorite commentator is Sridhar Swami. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, Sridhar Swami Guru Kari Mani, Sridhar Anugata Karo Bhagavat Vyakhyan. Accept Sridhar Swami as your Guru and explain Srimad Bhagvatam according to Sridhar Swami. So Srila Sridhar Swami, he has commented upon this verse. He has just given the summary of the chapter. So at the beginning of every chapter, he gives the summary of the chapter. Srila Sridhar Swami says, Tataschaikadashe yodhyam avasan anujai saha yagyadi yachakaresho ramastad anuvarnyate. Tatascha ekadashe. Thereafter in 11th chapter, ekadashe. Ayodhyam avasan, while residing in Ayodhya. Anujai saha, along with his brothers. Yagyadi yachakar isho. So whatever sacrifices that the Supreme Lord carry out. Ramas tad anuvarnyate. So those activities of Ram are described in this chapter. That is the summary of this chapter. Srila Jiva Goswami in his Krama Sandarbha says, Bhagavan Atmanatmanam Ije. He says the Supreme Lord worshipped himself through himself. Iti loka sangrahartham iti arthaha. He did so for loka sangraha. So what is the meaning of loka sangraha? This principle is explained in Bhagavad Gita, where Krishna says to Arjun that although you are not the body, you are the soul, but you carry out the duties of a Kshatriya for the purpose of Loka Sangraha. Loka Sangraha means for the purpose of preserving family tradition, so that the next generation will come to know that you were following these traditions. This is called Loka Sangraha. I'll give an example of Loka Sangraha, that all of us in our childhood were taught by our parents that every day you have to take a bath. That's it. Very simple principle. Now if we go and ask our parents, well, who taught you? The parents will say, our parents taught us. And then who taught them? Then their parents taught us. So there is Loka Sangraha, preservation of family tradition. So Sri Jiva Goswami says Loka Sangrahartham. It was for preserving family tradition, because he wanted to propagate the science of yajna in his own families, because it was Treta Yuga. And the process of self-realization in Treta Yuga is to execute yajna. So, it's very important. Bhagavan Atmana Atmanam. Bhagavan through his own self, he worshipped his own self. Rama Uttama Kalpakai, and he worshipped using the best of ingredients. Why did he worship? He should have worshipped actually all the gods. The Vedas, they prescribe worship of various gods, like Indra, like Agni. The first hymn, the first richa of Rig Veda is for Agni. Agnim ide purohitam. So the first richa, the first hymn of Rig Veda is for Agni. Then there are hymns for Vayu. There are hymns for Indra. So why did Lord Ram not worship all of these various gods? So it is mentioned in the verse Sarva Deva Mayam. He himself was the personification of all the devatas, all the gods. So therefore he worshipped himself. Ije atha acharyavan. But very importantly, he worshipped under the guidance of an acharya. So other commentators explain the acharya's name is Vasishtha Muni. So Vasishtha was the Kul Purohit, the family priest of Bhagavan Ramchandra. So he worshipped under the guidance of Vasishtha Muni. And Makhaihi, he worshipped by offering various fire sacrifices. So I would like to focus on the term which Srila Jiva Goswami had mentioned, which is Loka Sangraha. It's very important. See, it's very important that we should carry out certain processes in our life which are essential for Loka Sangraha, for preserving family tradition. And that is very importantly demonstrated by Sri Ramachandra. In today's age, many people think that they are absolutely free individuals with no responsibility whatsoever to anybody in life. For example, once a person is 20 or 25 years of age, they are able to earn for themselves. They are free. Aren't they free? They are absolutely free. Yes, Sundaranand Prabhu. Once you're 20, 25 years, you can earn by yourself. Are you indebted to anybody? No, doesn't do. Unless you have taken a loan from a bank. You're not indebted to anybody. So people think we are free people, like, individuals who can live our own lives. But this is not the case according to Shastra. Shastra says that every human being is heavily indebted right since their very birth. Each and every one of us is born indebted. There is nobody who is free from debt. And many debts are there on everyone's head. So these are, in Sanskrit it is called rina. What is it called? Rina. So many rinas are there, many debts are there on everyone's head. And in human form of life, it is the duty of every human being to try and pay back all those debts. So there are 5 main debts which every human being accrues since their very birth. So I will mention those 5 debts and kindly repeat the names after me. First debt, please repeat, is called Pitre Rin. Pitre Rin means it is the debt of the forefathers. For example, let me ask a question. Prabhuji, your name? Vivek Prabhu. Vivek Prabhu, our parents brought us up for 20 or 25 years. Now, they took care of us 24 into 7 into 365 since our very birth. And they educated us so that we could stand on our own feet and earn. So all of that was free, right, Prabhu? Yes? Did they charge any money? No. So it was free. Right, Sundaranand Prabhu? It was free. Or was it not free? It was free. They never took any money from us. We say sometimes in Hindi, वो तो कर्तव्य था उनका. It was their duty. So they did it. So it is not free, dear devotees. In this world, there is no such thing as free lunch. So it was not free. For all the things that they have done, there is a debt which we have accrued. This is called Pitri Rin. For example, Vivek Prabhu, let's say, there are parents who have a child, and if they ask somebody to take care of the child, babysitter, now the babysitter charges something per hour. Let's say something like $20 per hour. Now, Prabhu, $20 into 24 hours, how much will it be? 480 multiplied by 365 for 1 year, multiplied by 20 years minimum. So how much money will that be? And that doesn't cover the cost of emotional care and affection and everything. Okay, so that is the total debt accrued by us. Has any one of us paid that back till now? We never paid anything back to our parents. So that is our first debt. It is called Pitri Rin. Bhagavan Shri Krishna mentions this Pitri Rin in Srimad Bhagvatam itself. It is mentioned directly in Srimad Bhagvatam. So those of us who have Bhagvatam, we can see 10th canto, 45th chapter, verse 5, 1045.5. So in 1045.5, Krishna says something which is very important. He says something to Devaki and Vasudeva, and I will repeat that. Sarvartha sambhavo deho, janitaha poshito yataha, na tayor yati nirvesham pitror martyah shatayusha. So 1045.5, he says, with one's body one can acquire all goals of life, and it is one's parents who give the body birth and sustenance. Therefore, no mortal man can repay his debt to his parents even if he serves them for a full lifetime of 100 years. The direct mention of Pitri Rin in Srimad Bhagavatam. So all of us are indebted to our parents first and foremost. This is called Pitri Rin. Now, second Rin, please repeat after me. It is called Devata Rin. Devata Rin means it is indebtedness towards all the various gods who are taking care of the universal affairs. For example, Agni, Chandra, Indra, Vayu, they are taking care of the various aspects of material nature. They are also taking care of our bodily functions. For example, Agni is responsible for digestion within the stomach. In the stomach, there is one Agni, one variety of Agni which is called Jathar Agni. So, for some individuals, this Jathar Agni becomes very mild, very weak. These people are not able to digest food nicely. Why? Because Agni is not cooperating with their bodily functions. So many deities are there within the body. I may want to raise my hand, but even in raising my hand, I need support of the various deities who are controlling my body. Sometimes a person may become affected by paralysis. So he may want to raise his hand, but because the deities in the body are not cooperating with him, therefore he is not able to do so even though he wants to raise his hand. The willpower is there, but the function cannot be carried out because the devatas are not in cooperation. Is all of this service for free, or does it have some debt? It has some debt. That debt is called Devta Rin. So this is the second Rin. Third is called, please repeat after me, Rishi Rin. Rishi Rin means the debt of the sages. Now, those of us who are born in families where they have maintained Gotra. Gotra means the family came from which Rishi. So somebody's Gotra is Shandilya, somebody's Gotra is Atri, somebody's Gotra is Bharadwaj, somebody's Gotra is Kashyap. So these are all Rishis who started family traditions and who passed down Vedic knowledge in family traditions. So we say our parents taught us how to take, why we should take a bath. Their parents taught us why they should take. Their parents taught us why they should take a bath. So this is because originally who taught them? So originally the Rishi taught them. The Rishi who studied the Veda and taught in his respective family tradition, that is Rishi Rin. There are some families in the world who are disconnected from Rishis, especially in the western part of this world. There are many people who don't know what is Rishi. And you may see in those family traditions, sometimes they don't have the tradition of even taking a bath every day. Now you may ask them, why don't you take a bath every day? They say, nobody taught us. Why didn't? Because nobody taught their parents. Ultimately, it has been disconnected. The connection with the Rishi has been cut. Therefore, even very simple things like Shauch, cleanliness, Satya, truthfulness, Daya, mercy, may be missing in certain individuals because Rishi Rin, because indebtedness towards Rishis has not been acknowledged. So this is the third Rin, Rishi Rin. Fourth is, please repeat after me, it is called Atithi Rin. Atithi Rin means indebtedness towards somebody who has arrived as a guest. Now, nowadays, nobody is Atithi in the pure sense, actually. Everybody arrives by telling the date and time. I am coming at this date, this time. So, nowadays, actually, nobody is Atithi. Previously, there used to be proper Atithi. Atithi means na tithir yasya, who has no fixed date of arrival. That person is known as Atithi. He may come at any time. That person is known as Atithi. In my childhood, we used to stay in village sometimes. For a few months, my father used to take me to a village. In the village, we will notice one thing. There is always open door policy. How many of us have stayed in a village? Sometimes, yes. So, were the doors always shut or were the doors open? So, open doors. So, anyone can walk in at any point of time. You can walk into anybody's home at any point of time. So, that is called Atithi, arrival without announcement. So, nowadays, it is closed door policy. We don't trust when neighbor may also come and steal from our own home. So, we shut the doors. So, Atithi basically is a person who arrives unannounced, or in general, a guest is also known as Atithi. So, question arises, why should we become indebted to Atithi? Actually, Atithi should be indebted to us because they are taking our resources. So, why should we be indebted to Atithi? So, we should be indebted to Atithi because as soon as we leave our home, we become dependent on others. Let's say, today we leave our home and we go outside anywhere. So, we will become dependent on others. So, whatever resources we take from others, is that free? Or does it have a charge? Free. See, it's free. Just go to anyone's place and have free resources. But it's not free. So, it has some debt on our head. That's called which rin? Atithi rin. And fifth and last is called, please repeat after me, Bhuta rin. Bhuta rin means indebtedness towards all living entities in general, including the trees and insects. So somebody may say, why am I indebted towards the insects? What have they done for me? So we are indebted because if even one category of living entities disappears from the surface of this planet, Can human life continue? No. If the trees were to disappear, can we continue our life? No. If the insects were to disappear, can we continue our life? No. So the entire ecological system is working in harmony with each other. Therefore, we are also indebted to all living entities in general. This is called Bhutarina. It is important to pay back one's debt in this very life. Because one who doesn't pay back, there is a phrase for him in Bhagavad Gita. Krishna says, Tair datva apradayebhyo yo bhunkte stena eva saha. One who enjoys without giving share to other living entities, that person is stena, thief, chor. So that person is thief actually. So it is very important to pay back the debts towards these living entities. Now, how to pay back the debts towards these living entities is very important. How many types of debts have I mentioned? 5. So it's important to pay back debts towards these 5 entities. So how to do that? I'll explain one by one. First, I explained Pitri Rin. Pitri Rin means indebtedness towards forefathers. This debt is paid back by in multiple ways. First and foremost, if we have parents who are alive, who are still living on the planet, then we should try to take care of those parents. Secondly, if we are in Grihastha ashram, then a Grihastha, when they produce a child, then they give the same effort for that child for 20 or 25 years. I hope you are able to understand. So the same effort which somebody took for them for 20 or 25 years, they also put the same effort for 20, 25 years for somebody else. Now those of us who are parents, is it easy to raise a child? No. And the child says, hey, it is free. You did it because it is your responsibility to. So child also doesn't know. Child is accruing a big debt on his head. But we are clearing our debt because we are doing it for free for somebody else. So that is another way of paying it back. And third way of paying it back is for those ancestors who have departed, like grandparents or great-grandparents. So every year during Pitri Paksh, we should offer Vaishnav Shrad. Vaishnav Shrad means we should offer oblations to forefathers. So Pitri Paksh it appears once in a year. And in the heavenly planets, it is said that 6 months of earth is 1 day there and 6 months is 1 night. So 6 months is 12 hours and another 6 months is 12, total 24 hours in the heavenly planets. So in 1 year, if we offer once, it means in 1 day, they receive 1 offering from us, still from our side. Still, we acknowledge them. Every day, they receive 1 offering from us. So it's very important that they are also fed because they are connected to us. They do not get disconnected simply because they have passed away. So that connection we maintain as long as we are within this particular family. So that is how we pay back Pitri Rina. 3 main ways. First and foremost, those parents who are alive, try to stay with them and try to serve them. Secondly, try to raise a child on one's own and do the same effort for somebody else. Third, those who have departed, offer Vaishnav Shrad. There is a Vaishnav Paddhati by Sri Gopal Bhatta Goswami mentioned in Satkriya Sardipika to offer Vaishnav Shrad every year to them. So this is how you pay back Pitri Rin. Second Rin I mentioned is Devata Rin. So how to pay back Devata Rin? Like Lord Ramachandra, he was offering sacrifices. But he was offering unto himself because he is the personification of all the gods. Now we are not personification of all the gods. So we need to offer sacrifices to all the gods. But instead of offering sacrifices to all the gods separately, we offer sacrifice to Bhagavan Shri Krishna because he is Sarva Deva Mayam. Because he is the personality who has all the gods within him. So every day we worship Shri Krishna. Deity worship is how you pay back Devata Rin. Every day offering deity worship. A Grihastha especially should not exhibit laziness in deity worship. Srila Jiva Goswami has said that Grihastha should always enthusiastically carry out deity worship. That is how we pay back Devta Rin. The third Rin I mentioned was Rishi Rin. Rishi Rin means indebtedness towards rishis. So how do we pay it back? So whatever the rishis have taught in our family tradition, we should ensure that our next generation learns from us. We should not become the destroyer of our family tradition. It's very important. We should not become the destroyer of our family tradition. See, sometimes individuals, they migrate from India, they come to the West. So see, for thousands of years, the ancestors were living in India. Thousands of years they were staying in India. Now suddenly one generation, they migrate. So what happens is the roots which are there in India, suddenly they are disconnected. Suddenly there is a disconnect. So then in order to again settle down in a different place, it is very important that those roots should not be destroyed. So whatever we received from family tradition, we should give to our next generation. It is very important, because otherwise if the next generation doesn't receive, then what will happen is the next generation will have a confused identity, that actually who am I? What is my culture? So that confusion of identity, it's called identity crisis, should not occur in the life of a person. They should know very well that which family I belong to, what is my gotra, what are the family traditions that I follow, what is the language that is spoken in my family, who are my ancestors, who is the rishi. And another way of paying rishi rin is to teach literature such as Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagvatam to society at large, because this is the best message that all the rishis have. So teaching Bhagavad Gita and Srimad Bhagavatam is a very good way of paying back rishi rin, because you are not only educating your own family members, you are educating society at large. So that is one very good way of paying back rishi rin. Fourth is atithi rin. Atithi rin means in order to pay back atithi rin, so if any atithi arrives at our home, we should treat them nicely. According to Smriti Shastra, whenever somebody arrives at home, minimum 3 things should be offered to a guest. So does anybody know what are the 3 things that should be offered to a guest? Water, nice words, sitting place. Okay, 3 minimum. First, asan. So ask them to sit. Please come and please sit. Nowadays tradition is just open half the door. Yeah, who are you? What do you want? Chalo, goodbye. So they close the door. So that should not be there. So somebody has come, and trustworthy person, we know this person is not going to do us any harm, then invite them inside and make them sit. Please have a seat. Asan. Second is jal. Some water should be offered. Do you want some water? So it's nowadays, especially I saw here, when I was traveling, there is one airlines which is so cheap, it doesn't offer even water. I don't need to say the name of the airline. It's so cheap that it doesn't offer, it charges for water. So one time I was traveling, it's a domestic air, so I asked water. Yes, sir, only $10. Are how much atithi rin are you taking? For every passenger they are taking atithi rin. So I thought maybe they could have charged $2 more for the ticket, but they should give water at least. So water. Second and third is sweet words. So how are you? Kushal, in Hindi se kushal puchna kisi ka. How are you? Are you doing good? Is everything okay? So that is called sweet words. And if nothing else can be offered, at least offer sitting place and sweet words. And if nothing else can be offered, at least offer sweet words. Itna. There is a special hell in Srimad Bhagavatam for those who look with cruel eyes upon their guests. In Srimad, there is one special hell in Srimad Bhagavatam for somebody who looks with cruel eyes upon their guests. So, Atithi Rin is paid back by taking care of guests who either come invited or uninvited to our place. So that is how we pay back Atithi Rin. And last Rin is Bhuta Rin. So all the living entities. So we should satisfy, the Grihasthas especially should satisfy all the living entities in whatever way that is possible. So how do we satisfy all the living entities? Suppose we see a living entity who is hungry. A Grihastha's duty is to feed people who are hungry. Feed them prashadam. Feed them Shri Krishna Prasad. Or if any living entity is hurt, for example, sometimes we see animals who are hurt, who are bleeding. So take care of them. See, all the living entities in the universe are looking up to the Grihastha ashram. They are looking towards Grihastha ashram with great expectation. Their expectation is that this ashram will give us support. So it is the duty of the Grihastha to give support to all these living entities. The Grihastha should never be a miser, कंजूस नहीं होना चाहिए. Never be a miser. So they should always give two things. They should give wealth or resources. These two things should be given. See, wealth or resources, they have only three ways, three destinations. Wealth has three destinations. Resources also have three destinations. Please repeat the names. What are the three destinations? First is, please say, Dan. Second is Bhoga. And third is Nash. So wealth will end up on only one of three destinations. Either Dan, either Bhog or Nash. So either you give it charity to some deserving person, either you enjoy it yourself. And if both of these will not be done, then it will go to the third destination. What is the third destination? Nash. So do at least one of two. At least enjoy it yourself or at least give charity to somebody else. There is a very nice verse, sarcastic verse in Sanskrit poetry. Kripanena samodata na bhuto na bhavishyati asprishanneva vittani yah parebhya prayachati. So a question is asked, Sundaran Prabhu, who is the most charitable person? So the most charitable person, believe it or not, is the miser, Kanjus. The most charitable person is the miser. You know why, Prabhu? Because he gives everything that belongs to him even without touching it with his own hands. I hope you are able to understand. Huh? So when he dies, anyways it is taken away. But there is a difference. If while living he would have given by touching it with his own hands, he would have at least received the pious credit in his next life. But he is so charitable, he doesn't even want the pious credit. I hope you are able to understand. So therefore, he is the most charitable person. So in this way, the Vedic literature make fun of a person who is not charitable. So we all should give. We all have been blessed with some resources. Some of us have been blessed with sahitya, knowledge of literature. So those who are blessed with knowledge of literature, don't be miser. Don't think, I will only speak, if I will only speak if at least 1,000 people are there in an assembly. If less than, then I will not speak. It's against my prestige. No, don't be a miser. Give freely. Some are blessed in Sangeet. They can sing Kirtan nicely. So anybody who's blessed with Kirtan, if they think like, well, I will sing Kirtan only if, certain number of people are there in the audience. Only if I get something in return. So that is miserly mentality. Somebody is blessed with resources. So don't have miserly mentality. Now, if we cannot pay back some debt for some reason, then for the Vaishnavas a very special arrangement is made in the Srimad Bhagvatam. Jai. Shri Radha Madhav Ji ki jai. So if we can't pay back certain debt, then for the Vaishnavas one exception is made. And this exception is mentioned in Srimad Bhagvatam, 11th canto, 5th chapter, 41st verse. Some of us might have heard this verse. Devarshi bhutap nrinam pitranam na kinkaro nayam rini charajan sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam gato mukundam parihritya kartam. 11.5.41. Deva, Rishi, Bhuta, Apta, Nrinam, Pitranam, all the debts are mentioned. Na kinkaro nayam rini. A person will not become no longer remain a servant or no longer remain indebted. How? If sarvatmanaya sharanam sharanyam, with his heart and soul, he completely surrenders to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Gato Mukundam Parihritya Kartam. If he surrenders to Lord Mukunda, then no debt will remain. But there is a very important condition mentioned here, which we neglect. Sarvatmana yah sharanam sharanyam. He has completely 100% surrendered to Bhagavan. That condition is often not emphasized. Sometimes people say you just become a new devotee, so you have no more debts to pay. The verse itself says, Sarvatmana yah sharanam sharanyam. With the entirety of his body, mind and soul, he has surrendered to the Supreme Lord. So only for this exceptional case are all the debts forgiven. But for those who have not fully surrendered, they should still think about paying back their debts. A Vaishnav's nature is such that even though he may have fully surrendered, still he will not, hesitate from carrying out his duty. Why? Loka Sangraha. The important principle is Loka Sangraha. Next generation has to learn. Therefore, I will still carry out. Even though I am a devotee, even though I am initiated, even though I am surrendered, even though I do not need to carry out these duties, still I will carry out. Why? Loka Sangraha. The next generation should learn. They should see their parents, that their parents were performing this duty. So when they see, the next generation will learn. One of the anxieties of Arjuna in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita will be that if we slaughter all these elderly people, then what will happen is there will be nobody to teach the younger generation. They will become Varna Sankar. This younger generation will not be able to sustain the family traditions. And Arjuna said, I have heard that those who don't sustain family traditions, they always reside in hell. This is what Arjuna's fear in the first chapter of Bhagavad Gita was. So dear devotees, in this way, Bhagavan Ram also executed, and we should also try to pay back our debt towards all these various living entities. The best way is to completely surrender to Bhagavan. And there are other ways also mentioned in Vedic literature. So I would like to once again thank all of you for kindly being present here. Yadatra skhalitam kinchid vidvamsah purayantu tat. Yadatra saushthavam kinchit tad guroreva menahi. Yadatra skhalitam kinchit. If there is a possibility, I might have spoken something incorrect. So whatever incorrect I spoke, vidvamsah, you are learned people, purayantu tat. You correct whatever was incorrect. But yadatra saushthavam kinchit. If there's anything nice in whatever I spoke, even a single word, tad guroreva. It belongs to my Gurujanas, my Diksha Guru, my Shiksha Guru, Srila Prabhupada, all the God brothers of Srila Prabhupada and all the Gaudiya Vaishnavas, including all of you. It belongs to you. May nahi. It doesn't belong to me. So thank you very much. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So I don't know how much time we have for question and answers, but as long as we have time, I am here. So if anybody would like to say something or ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhu. Thank you very much for a very wonderful and inspiring, very nice lecture. Thank you, Prabhu. I have this question because in many families, they have so many traditions like worshipping this god, this god, like that. Then how does they get an opportunity to progress in the path of Krishna consciousness? Because if that takes a lot of time, then where is that chance comes?
Right. So the question is that in many family traditions there is worship of various deities and no direct connection to Krishna. So how do these families get the opportunity to progress in their spiritual life? So the various deities that have been prescribed for various families is because all of them are trying to follow some aspect of Vedic culture. Now nature of Veda is Traigunya Vishaya. It has fruitive activities. It is especially made for people who have material desires. So the family traditions are also set in such a way that you get all your material desires fulfilled by following the Vedic path. That is by worship of various deities. Bhakti is not for everyone. Actually speaking, everyone is eligible for bhakti, but bhakti doesn't easily appear in everyone's life. We may have seen in our families also that some people take up bhakti in the family, some people don't take up bhakti very easily. Why? Because bhakti is a question of adhikar. But Ved, or getting enjoyment through Vedic means, that is everybody's right. Sarve bhavantu sukhinah. Let everybody be happy. So how can everybody be happy? By following Vedic culture, Vedic life. Therefore, in the family traditions, Vedic culture, different aspects of Vedic culture have been rooted. But bhakti may not always be the main part of that family tradition. Because family traditions are mainly for living material life comfortably. But if there is someone who bahunam janmanam ante, who has become after many births, who has become jnani, learned, then one such person in a family may take up bhakti. So that's a very special case. So we can't make bhakti as the general case in every family, because living entities in general are not inclined towards bhakti. Living entities in general are inclined towards material enjoyment. And the Vedas facilitate it in a way that they will gradually become detached. But bhakti coming in their lives, it is not by any mechanical formula. That will happen only by contact with a devotee. That is. I hope it satisfies your query. Thank you.
As you said, it is Loka Sangraha.
Hmm.
So it should be forward to next generations.
Right.
And they are following so many traditions.
Right.
And one of their child might be following Krishna consciousness. If they say that you are abandoning all your family traditions,
Sure.
and then that is not the case, what has been shown by the great personalities, like, as you said, Lord Ramchandra did and Lord Krishna did.
Right.
Like even Nanda Maharaj also performed Indra Puja like that.
Right.
So how can we answer to them, like saying that, we are fulfilling that family traditions by following this path of Krishna consciousness?
Right. So somebody may have a family tradition of worshipping various deities. Let's say somebody's family has a tradition of worshipping Ganesh, or somebody's family tradition has worshipping Shiva. So the person who is from this family, he should show respect to Ganesh and Shiva. He should not disrespect. One of the 64 limbs of bhakti, I think it is limb number 17, is Anya Devata Anavagya, to not show disrespect towards other deities, which means to show respect to all the deities that are there, including the deities in family tradition. So we should show respect. We may not offer them daily puja, but we should show them respect. And we should tell the next generation that these are our family deities. This is the Kul Devata. This is the Kul Devi. We should tell the next generation. The next generation otherwise doesn't even know who is the Kul Devata or who is the Kul Devi. Sometimes after becoming a devotee, a person even abandons respect for the family deities. I hope you are able to understand. Doesn't even show respect to the family deities. So that is not good. One of the 64 limbs of bhakti is to never disrespect any devata, any Vedic deity should never be disrespected. So we should we may not personally be worshipping them, but we should especially tell our next generation, these are the family deities. And this is what for thousands of years our ancestors were worshipping. We should take them to the temples of those particular deities. And we can bow down in front of those deities. We don't ask anything. Like Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he went to Lingaraj temple. So Lingaraj is in Bhuvaneshwar. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu there composed Shivashtakam, 8 verses glorifying Lord Shiva. So those are recorded in Murari Gupta's biography, Chaitanya Charitamrita, Chaitanya Charita, Murari Gupta's. So Chaitanya Mahaprabhu came to Maharashtra. He visited our Kul Devi. She's Mahalakshmi of Kolhapur. It's mentioned that he visited Mahalakshmi of Kolhapur. Then he went to Pandharpur. So in this he went to Nasik, where Triambakeshwar Mahadev is there. So Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu visited Triambakeshwar Mahadev. He visited Kolhapur, Mahalakshmi. So why? The question is why? So the reason is because we should show respects to all the deities. What did Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ask for when he was visited? Did he ask anything from these deities? The only thing he asked was that, may my mind always remain absorbed at the lotus feet of Bhagavan Shri Krishna. So can't we do the same with our family deities? 100% we can do. We should do that. So we should acknowledge, we should show respect to our family deities, and we should tell the next generation about our family deities. We may not place the family deities on our altar, but we should have, in some room, we should have a small photograph of our family deities. We should tell the next generation, this is our family deity. I hope that clarifies it. So our elders will also not complain, "Ki, Arey Baba, why have you abandoned?" So, like my family deity is Mahalakshmi, Kolhapur. So, I have, my son is there. So, we used to take him to Kolhapur and show him. So, he knows, he remembers my village, my family deity. He always says, this is my village, this is my family deity. So, he should remember. But he knows that we are Vaishnav. So, we worship Krishna. So, all these things should be known. So, I hope that satisfies your query. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhu, for wonderful class and emphasizing on those fundamentals for us. The question I have was, there are family traditions that keep adding. Like in the new generations, people worship Sai Baba. They become their deity. Our Shastra never says, never had a mention of Sai Baba. And similarly, people have certain kind of traditions that they'll, because it became so popular, people start adapting new. For example, after the person dies, after 10 days or 12 days, people started feeding non-vegetarian. So it is a disrespect if they come and we don't even feed non-vegetarian to them. So this became a tradition now in villages, and they are all Hindus, and like that, there are a lot of changes happening in the society. So how do we? Is it a disrespect if I don't honor that person by not feeding him non-vegetarian? Is it going to be a disrespect for me not worshipping Sai Baba because I being born in a family who has been worshipping for the past one generation? Okay.
Very
Please
nice.
clarify. Thank you.
So the query is that some traditions get newly added into family, and these may be non-devotional or sometimes anti-devotional, such as feeding non-vegetarian. So how do we understand those and how do we deal with that? See, previously society was very strictly segregated. Previously, when I say 400-500 years ago, society was strictly segregated. People had different colonies. Different communities had different colonies where they used to stay. And there was no mixture of traditions from one place to other place. Mixture in Shastra is called Sankara. There is a name in Shastra for mixture. The name for mixture is called Sankara. Nowadays, a lot of Sankarata. Sankarata means mixture is going on. For example, there is the first Sankar is Varna Sankar. People from different Varnas get married. Second is Bhasha Sankar. Two people who speak two different languages get married. So that is called Bhasha Sankar. So the child who is born, he doesn't know what to speak, basically. He mixes up words from both languages. It's called Bhasha Sankar. Bhusha Sankar. People who wear two different types of clothing, they get married. So the child is confused, ki bhai, actually what is my tradition? Then there is Bhojan Sankar. People who have two completely different food eating habits, they get married. So one of them has to heavily compromise. So that is called Bhojan Sankar. So many Sankars are there. This what you mentioned is an example of Sankarta. Somebody else's family tradition, somebody took it upon themselves. So our effort should not be towards Sankarta, should not be to accept traditions which end up mixing our original family traditions. How do we ensure that Anukulyasya sankalpah pratikulyasya varjanam? Whatever is favorable for one's bhajan, bhakti, that can be accepted. Whatever is not favorable for bhakti, that should not be accepted. Recent family traditions especially, we have no obligation because they are not coming from the rishis. But if there are some family traditions which are coming since many generations, if there is a Kul Devta, Kula Devi, Vedic deity which we have, any Vedic deity, that we should definitely take care. Any non-Vedic deity, we are not obliged, and we should not do that actually. But a Vedic deity, definitely we should take care. We should take care of those traditions. But in some Vedic traditions also, there are some things which may go against bhakti, such as feeding non-vegetarian or something like that. There are some people's Kula Devta is Bhairav, Kal Bhairav. So, sometimes they have to offer something which is Amish, not very pure, to Kal Bhairav. So the Vaishnava, they they make an exception. They don't offer anything unofferable. But they still show respect to the family deities. Showing respect is very nice. We should show respect to all Vedic deities. But if there is some non-Vedic deity or some recently acquired tradition due to sankarata, due to mixture, then we should try not to do that. That is the answer to your query. Thank you. Yeah, sure. Okay.
Yes, Mother, you can ask.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranamam all grace to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj.
Yeah, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranamam all grace to Srila Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Your class was really wonderful, Prabhuji. Thanks for the call. Prabhuji, actually I have a question, Prabhuji. Actually the question was, in our family tradition we do vrata, like yearly my family members do some like vrata, like Kedari vrata like that. But I did not do that, so I don't know, because after I came to the Krishna consciousness ISKCON, I came to know that Krishna is the main God. So instead of, if we worship Krishna, then everything will be, like all gods are satisfied. So I just want to know, Prabhuji, is it compulsory to do the vrat or no? I'm not, I don't know, because they do it in India and I'm here in US, so I'm not sure. Can you please explain about this, Prabhuji?
Okay. So as far as I could hear the question, in the family tradition they are doing some vrata. Okay. And after coming to Krishna Bhakti, she is no longer able to do that. Okay. So if there is some vrata in family tradition, and after coming to Krishna Bhakti, we have already accepted a different set of vratas. Our vrata is Ekadashi, Chaturmas. These are the vratas that we execute. So since the tradition has been shifted to bhakti, so all bhakti centric vratas have been accepted by us. But other vratas which our family members were previously accepting, we cannot accept them because we have already accepted a different set of vratas. And now we are one-pointedly devoted to worshipping Krishna, although we show respect to other deities. So we may follow our vratas, Vaishnava vratas, but on other days of vratas of other deities, if we are at least not following those vratas, we should show respect to those deities. So we may not follow those vratas, but we should show respect to those deities on those particular days. So that's all. We need not follow all the vratas elaborately. Example of this is Shivratri Vrat. So in the Hari Bhakti Vilas, Sri Gopal Bhatt Goswami says, Shivratri Vratam Yadyapi Avashyakam Nahi. It is not essential for every Vaishnav to follow Shivratri Vrat. But if there is some family tradition, then a Vaishnav may optionally follow Shivratri Vrat. If there is a family tradition, that is only for Shivratri. Other vratas, there is no need of separately executing. But if the vrata is Shivratri, then optionally it can be executed according to Hari Bhakti Vilas. That is all.
You got it, Madhu? Any further clarification you need?
Yes, Prabhuji, thanks, Prabhuji.
So I think if somebody from the Vaishnavis wants to ask anything, yes, we'll give the mic there, that side also.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thank you so much for this class. Thank you for talking about Loka Sangraha and then talking about the 5 rinas which we have to pay back. So when I heard the Loka Sangraha, I was wrongly misunderstanding it as collection of people in one's
No.
life. But it is completely a different meaning, and thank you for explaining that.
Thank you.
So my question is, how much one's consciousness matters when we are trying to pay back the rinas? Because if you see, for example, Bhuta Rina, which you mentioned, if one is trying to, because there are people who are doing social work, like they are trying to help people and all. So are they also indirectly paying the rinas, or consciousness matters? That is my question.
Yeah. So the query is about Bhutarena. So many people are doing social work outside. So does our consciousness matter when we are, feeding others? Or yes, the consciousness is very important. See, some people do social work, they do charity, they feed others. So they also acquire piety. A lot of their rina, debt, is also paid back because consciously or unconsciously they are helping other living entities. But the fruit is greater for somebody who is consciously and knowingly doing it. Adhikasya adhikam phalam. With greater consciousness, if you do, the phalam, the result is greater. So a grihastha should especially do charity, and especially a grihastha is expected to feed the hungry people. The grihastha, the Vaishnav grihastha is expected to do this. A grihastha should not become miserly thinking that this is social service and not for me. In the 3rd canto, there is a very nice verse, and if we have this verse on our Veda base, we can try to pull out this verse. This is 3:29:26. 3:29:26. आत्मनश्च परस्यापि यह करोति अंतरोदरम तस्य भिन्न दृशो मृत्युर्विदधे भयम उल्बणम. So if we see the translation is, especially it is for the grihasthas. As the blazing fire of death, I cause great fear to whoever makes least discrimination between himself and other living entities because of a differential outlook. Srila Jiva Goswami, he is commenting on this verse. He says there is a term in the verse antarodaram. You can see a term is there, antarodaram. Jiva Goswami says in the commentary, what does he say? He says antarodaram udara bhedena bhedam karoti. Antara udaram. He differentiates between his udara, his stomach, and somebody else's udara, somebody else's stomach. Jiva Goswami then says, tatascha kshuditadikam api drishtva. Even seeing that somebody is hungry, svodaradikam eva kevalam sambibharti. He feeds only himself, even though he sees somebody else is hungry. Such a person, Bhagavan says, bhinna drisho, is of a differential outlook. Mrityur vidadhe, this person will continue his existence in material world. It's very important. We should not do antar udaram. Our udar, our stomach, and somebody else's udar, somebody else's stomach, they are not different in one way, because the same pain which we feel in our stomach, that person also feels in their stomach. So Bhagavan himself says, don't differentiate between your stomach and somebody else's stomach. So a grihastha is supposed to feed people who are hungry. And a grihastha, Vaishnav grihastha, should feed them prashadam. So if the Vaishnav grihastha doesn't want to get, if he has little bit of fear that I may get implicated in good karma, because sometimes Vaishnavas have this fear also of getting implicated in good karma. So if they have this fear, I will get implicated in good karma, then feed them prashadam, because prasad is free from all karma. So feed prasad to living entities who are hungry. They may be birds, they may be animals. See, Shrad, on the day of offering Shrad to forefathers, we offer the food first to Bhagavan, and whatever remnants we get from Bhagavan, we offer to the ancestors. And then whatever remains, we feed the other living entities, such as we feed, sometimes a cow is fed, some birds are fed, sometimes insects are fed. So it's very important. all bhutas, all living entities should be satisfied. So with this in mind, that this is an offering unto Bhagavan, this is an offering unto my forefathers, and this is an offering unto all the living entities. Let everybody be satisfied. That is the broad outlook of the Grihastha. That is why even today in India, it may not be a first world country, but people are feeding each other nicely. The entire society is based on cooperation. People are feeding each other nicely. Many people survive simply on food given by others. In India, even today, many people survive on food given by others. Why? Because there is a system of offering to other living entities. If we stop this, then Loka Sangraha is finished. There's absolutely nothing preserved in the tradition. Then what will happen? See, therefore Vedic tradition, very important. Thank you. I hope it satisfies your query.
Yes, thank you. I have one more question.
Sure.
You mentioned about Sankarta now. Sankarta, mixture.
Sankara, mixture.
Yes, yeah. So my question was, even though two people from different traditions, if they are following now one path of Krishna consciousness, is it still called a Sankarta?
Okay. So even though two people from two different traditions, they get married, but they are now following Krishna consciousness, is it still called Sankar? So it may not be called Varna Sankar, because Varna is same. Once you get initiated, both become Dvijas. So both become as good as Brahmanas. So there may not be Varna Sankar, but other Sankars are there. Because in day-to-day life, practical day-to-day life, we will see that their eating habits are different. So we will see in practical day-to-day, just because they have taken to Krishna Bhakti, so their Varna is same, their worshipable deity is same, their Devata is same, but there are some places where Sankarta will be seen, where mixture will be seen. Their languages may not be same. So can Krishna consciousness change that? So no, Krishna consciousness is a spiritual path. So the material aspects of life, so they will remain unchanged. And therefore, the bhasha may not be same, the language may not be same, the bhusha, the style of clothing may not be same, the bhojan, the style of eating food may not be the same. Let's say two people get married, one of them likes very bland food, and another one of them likes very spicy food, like Andhra Pradesh spicy, like that level of spicy. Huh? So that person who is Telugu, that person getting married to a person who is eating very bland food, how will the Telugu person adjust? Huh? Either the Telugu person has to eat bland food, or that other person has to eat spicy food. It's a big austerity for both people. So I hope you are able to understand. So some Sankarta, some mixture will be seen, although it is not Varna Sankar, because the Shastra doesn't recommend Varna Sankar. Shastra is against one Sankar, that is Varna Sankar. Shastra is not so heavily against other Sankar. But my point of saying that was, still it is austerity for people. It seems nice, it's like new relationship and different culture, and it is love and everything is nice. But after 2-3 years you find out, Arey Vapre, oh my goodness, I miss my home culture. So you don't want that after 2-3 years. Why? Because the Sankarta it plays a very important role. So I hope it satisfies your query.
Yes. But Prabhuji, you used the word austerity. So austerity is good, right?
For Krishna.
Okay.
For Krishna. What is the use of austerity which has no end result?
So that's what I was saying. So in Krishna consciousness, if we have that austerity in Sankarta, then is it good?
No. We should have austerity which is prescribed in Shastra. We should not make up new austerity. This austerity, that I will marry a person from other tradition so that life will be austere for me. No. This is not mentioned in Shastra. Austerity mentioned in Shastra is Chaturmas, Ekadashi. So all austerity which is mentioned in Shastra should be accepted. I'll give one example. One time Srila Prabhupada, he was at Juhu beach. Every day he used to go walk. So one day the sun had come out early. So it was already very warm and the sand was burning, almost burning. So one devotee came with Srila Prabhupada and this devotee was not wearing any shoes, no footwear. So Prabhupada told him, why don't you wear some footwear? So this devotee, in his sentiment, he said to Prabhupada, Prabhupada, with you I don't feel any pain. Aisa. So Prabhupada said, then why don't you cut your head? So the important point which Prabhupada wanted to convey was, austerity should be accepted which is in line with Shastra. So that austerity which is mentioned in Shastra. Let me give some example of austerities like that. There is one austerity called Magh Snan. It's very, very purifying. Sri Rupa Goswami also speaks very highly of Magh Snan. Magh is the month of December, January, very cold. So in Triveni Sangam, Ganga, Yamuna, Saraswati, for 1 month, taking early morning bath before sunrise is called Magh Snan. It purifies one of all sinful activities that one has committed over all the previous lifetimes. It's called Magh Snan. If one can do once in a lifetime. Rupa Goswami speaks of it in the Bhakti Rasamrit Sindhu. So Magh Snan. So these are austerities mentioned in Shastra. So those austerities which Shastra doesn't mention, that should not be done. Because यह शास्त्र विधि मुत्सृज्य वर्तते कामकारतः न स सिद्धिम अवाप्नोति न सुखम न पराम गतिम. So giving up Shastra Vidhi, somebody who takes austerity according to his own whims and fancies, that person will not attain happiness. Because Shastra does not give any benefit for such austerities. Does Shastra say that doing a Varna Sankar marriage and taking austerity, or doing Bhusha Sankar, Bhojan Sankar marriage is austerity which will give some result in next life? No. Shastra doesn't give any result for such austerities. So such austerities are like oblations offered in ash. I hope you are able to understand. Oblations should be offered in fire, not in ash. So such austerities have no end result. They don't give anything positive. So I hope that satisfies your query.
Yes. Thank you.
Anyone else? You wanted to ask something, Prabhu? Okay. So I don't know what is the end time. Mataji, you please let me know whenever is the end time, or whosoever is managing. Prabhu, I am looking up to you. I am okay till 10 o'clock also. That's okay. You tell me when to stop. Okay, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu. Thank you so much for the class. The question I have is, how do we understand all these 5 types of runners with regard to pure devotional service? You did quote the 11th canto verse, but we do also hear from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrit, Lord Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saying, Naham vipro na cha narapatir na apina vaishyono shudro.
Yeah.
So how do we understand this apparent contradiction between the topic that we discussed and a devotee who's striving to practice pure devotional service?
Okay. So we mentioned about 5 renas, but we also have statements in Chaitanya Charitamrita such as Naham vipro, nacha narapatir, napi vaishyo, na shudro. Naham varni, nacha grihapatir, no vanastho yatirva. I am not brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha or sannyasi. But Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu used to dress like a what? Sannyasi. So then somebody should ask Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, if you say you are not sannyasi, why do you dress like a sannyasi? Why do you wear saffron? Why have you shaved your shikha, and why have you removed your Brahmin thread? Only a sannyasi does that. Remove all shikha and Brahmin thread. Why have you done that? So in ISKCON also, if we see this verse, Naham Shudro, Naham Vipro, then why give Brahmin initiation? If we say Naham Vipro, I am not a Brahmin, then what is the point of giving Brahmin initiation? So the thing is, that particular verse is spoken by a personality who is completely absorbed in Krishna Prem and who has become completely transcendental to all Varna and Ashrama. But for those who have not become completely transcendental to Varna and Ashrama, they have to take shelter of some Varna and some Ashrama. So as long as one has not completely transcended Varna and Ashrama by getting absorbed in Krishna Prem, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was absorbed in Krishna Prem. So he can say, Naham Vipro, Nacha Narapatir. But those who don't have Krishna Prem, for them the support is Veda. And Veda says Varna and Ashram is the support. So they have to support themselves using Varna Ashram Vyavastha, the system of Varna and Ashram. Once somebody attains Krishna Prem, then they may also say, Na ham vipro, na chav narapatir, na pi vaishyo, na shudro. We appreciate theoretically those verses. Practically, we ISKCON devotees behave like Brahmanas. They carry out Brahman karma. So we know that those verses are for someone who has attained Krishna Prem. And we should attain in this life. It's not that it's so far away that nobody will attain. We should attain in this life. But till that time, we should take shelter of Varna and Ashram Vyavastha. I hope that clarifies. Okay, one last question. Then
Some family traditions they have during the Amavasya they offer oblations to their forefathers. Isn't that too much to do, being in trying to practice Krishna consciousness as well as also taking care of those? Please explain that also.
So in some family traditions, they offer oblations to forefathers on Amavasya. See, it's a very good tradition that once in a month, they are offering to their forefathers. Instead of once a year, they are offering once in a month. They are offering to their forefathers. These family traditions should be respected. But the devotee should do one very simple thing. See, the tradition is to offer on Amavasya. Okay, very nice. On Amavasya also the devotee cooks. And he cooks grains. All devotees cook grains on Amavasya. So on Amavasya, the devotee should cook grains. The devotee, as usual, should offer bhoga to Bhagwan. And the devotee should take out one small cup from that and keep in front of the ancestors. Because you are offering Bhagavad Parshad to ancestors. In this way, you maintain the family tradition. And you also gave the benefit of Bhagavad Prasad to all the ancestors. Very nice. If somebody has a family tradition like this, all they have to do is, on Amavasya, take out one little cup and keep it in front of the photograph of ancestors and mentally offer Bhagavad Prasad to the ancestors. So nice it is. It's a very nice family tradition. Why to destroy such family traditions actually? Just devotionalize them. Many family traditions can be devotionalized. So devotionalize the family tradition. If a family tradition does not have meat eating, intoxication, gambling, then it can most likely be devotionalized. So why not devotionalize good family traditions? That way, Lok Sangraha is also done. The next generation comes to know, Arey, on Amavasya, my father was offering Bhagavad Prasad to forefathers. So Loka Sangraha is also done. So all good family traditions should be devotionalized. We should use our intelligence to devotionalize those family traditions. Thank you. All right. So thank you once again very much, dear devotees. Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Gaur Premanande.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, thank you so much, bro. Wonderful class with the commentaries and digging deep into the 5 types of dana. And so actually there's so many subtleties to it. So you clarified all the subtleties also through Q&A for everyone. Thank you so much, bro. Hare Krishna. There's prasadam downstairs. Please feel free to go downstairs. Steps that said. All of you probably know. Hare Krishna.